The hype is so intense that some are predicting it could become the best-selling video game in history. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom released this Friday to rapturous critical acclaim and queues outside video game shops. Now, I'm joined by France 24's tech editor, Peter O'Brien, to discuss the continued impact of the franchise. I mean, seriously, I didn't even know that Nintendo was still making games until I saw this yesterday. Can this possibly live up to the hype?
Yeah, hi Delano. Just to illustrate the hype for you, one Reddit user called The Duck Pancake drew a cartoon inspired by the Zelda franchise every day for a whole 914 days before the release of Tears of the Kingdom. That's how excited the fans were. But still, I think it's a very brave analyst to say that it could become the best-selling game of all time. If you look at the 2017 predecessor Breath of the Wild, which was, even though it was widely hailed as a masterpiece, it sold 30 million copies, which is a lot, but it's not like the scale of GTA 5, which has sold about 175 million copies. And remember that Tears of the Kingdom is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, which has shipped about 125 million units. But if the reviews are anything to go by, then the hype is real. If you look at Metacritic, the review compiling site, it's just a wall of 9s and 10s out of 10. Hats off, though, to Josh Brown of Gfinity, who stuck his head above the parapet and gave it a 6 out of 10. He said that there wasn't enough meaningful reward for progressing in the game. But most critics agree that it's a delight, and like the previous game, they say the reward is in how you progress, the ingenious ways that you use to overcome the challenges that the game throws at you.
So it's built on a well-loved formula.
Well, exactly. And unlike so many AAA games these days, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, they really don't hold your hand. They don't tell you where to go or what to do. They just drop you in this vast open world and encourage you as a player to use your imagination and creativity with a set of tools that
But
really...
it looks like an animated film.
It looks like a film. I mean, the art direction is superb. Is it up to the graphical level of some of the titles that we see on PC, PS5 coming out? No, but that doesn't matter. I mean, it still looks fantastic. But crucially, I'm talking about this formula that uses the game's physics to make the most of your experience. And Tears of the Kingdom really took this from Breath of the Wild and injected it with steroids. I mean, now you can make entire makeshift vehicles, you can combine tools and weapons to make new ones. And in that sense, it takes games back to what they should be, which is being playful and creative rather than just, as you say, sitting through an interactive film. Of course, it's far from the only franchise that takes this approach. I mean, it makes me think of something like Half-Life, which really makes the most of physics in games to allow players to have fun. But I think it's what Nintendo cracked with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is that they apply this sense of creativity to a big open world brimming with puzzles and challenges, and that's really what takes the sort of sense of adventure to another level.
And Zelda games have a track record of revolutionizing gaming going back to the 80s, I believe.
Absolutely. I mean, there have been a host of very highly acclaimed games in the saga. Not all of them are big sellers, but if you ask game developers who their biggest influences are, well, the Zelda franchise is not far around the corner. Two in particular were nothing short of revolutionary. So the first of the saga, The Legend of Zelda in 1986, really pioneered the modern RPG and action game genres with its unprecedented scale and its maze-like design. And then we had in 1998 on the Nintendo 64, Ocarina of Time, which was an instant classic and is commonly cited as one of the best games of all time. It's really the textbook for 3D action games and introduced mechanics that are still widely used today.
Peter, sales for Nintendo for this year are gloomy. Could Tears of the Kingdom change things for the company?
Well, sales of the Nintendo Switch continue to drop, and fans are still calling. I mean, they've been calling for years for new hardware to be announced. A screen upgrade and a fully handheld version haven't really done enough, with Nintendo saying that another hardware announcement, a major one at least, isn't going to be coming in the next year or so. This week, Nintendo reported a drop in profit of over the financial year of about 9%. If you compare that to its competitor Sony, well, they're hitting record high profits. But if there's one game that can really get people out and buying this 6-year-old Nintendo Switch console, then I do think it's going to be Tears of the Kingdom.
I used to have a Game Boy. It was a much simpler time back in the day. Thank you very much for that, Peter O'Brien there.